Hey guys, what's up? It's Jules here for What Culture Gaming, and I just want to talk to you today about video game design secrets. Now, video games, much like people who say that Ewan isn't my son, often lie to you, but it's not always that bad. They do it for a real reason. Sometimes it's to make the player experience better, sometimes to make the game actually work in ways that our brains think that they should, and sometimes it's just to fudge a few numbers to make sure that we actually stick around until the end credits. We've actually already covered 10 moments like these in a previous video, which you should totally check out. But now Scott Tailfoot and I, hey, everyone give him a round of applause, have found 8 more of these hidden little gems for you to digest. So therefore, good. With this in mind, I'm Jules.
I'm Scott.
And these are 8 more hidden video game developer secrets that were total genius. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, dong. Number 8, the last bit of stamina, Dark Souls. When it comes to things like heavy lifting, sexual prowess, and running from your responsibilities, aka the Your Mum trilogy, there's my one per list, stamina is very important. There's nothing worse than running out of juice in the middle of battle, and it's definitely the worst thing about Dark Souls. The game is hard enough already without you feeling spent after a few swings. But it seems like the Dark Souls devs, in a rare moment of charity, have actually put in a nice little feature that means you can swing your sword or ladle one extra time. From Software actually confirmed that you don't actually have to have the required amount of stamina or FP to cast weapon arts, just that you need to have a sliver in order to pull it off. This little tweak means that you might be able to land the final blow or force an opponent to back off for a breather. It is technically cheating, but in a game this challenging, it's a welcome addition.
Number 7, crowds of enemies intelligently don't overwhelm you. DMC Devil May Cry. Being a badass in a Devil May Cry game is paramount, even if Ninja Theory's reboot had a Dante that looked like he'd used the term sheeple non-ironically. Now for the combat itself, you're going to be taking on a huge amount of enemies, and in a whole host of action games they tend to get that balance wrong. It's you up against the world, and every now and then one of them just snipes you or kicks you up the bum whenever you don't expect it. So to get around that, Ninja Theory actually programmed it so that whatever enemies you're not looking at actively slow down and de-animate to some respect. They're only really going to end up attacking you one by one or 2 or 3 at a time. It ensures that you can keep your combos going without ever feeling flanked from outside the frame. A trait that even the latest God of War arguably got wrong.
Oh, don't speak bad about that game!
I don't mean to!
Number 6, the dynamic difficulty, Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 has been touted as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Resident Evil game, and it's very easy to see why. The narrative, the combat setting, and the perfect blend of horror and action atmosphere. I eat it up! It also managed to straddle the line between difficulty and ease with near perfection, thanks to one of its most overlooked features, the dynamic difficulty. It turns out that Resident Evil 4 adjusted ammo drop rates, enemy damage output, and even AI aggressiveness based on how well you were doing. Therefore, if you were breezing through the level, you'd eventually meet stronger resistance, meaning that even if you were a god at the game, it was gonna challenge you. Lovely stuff.
Number 5, Link's eyes solve puzzles for you in Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. If there's one thing that'll stop your fantasy idea of being the lowly hero gallivanting across the land to right every last wrong, it's an awkwardly obtuse dungeon puzzle. Wind Waker is for the most part the last of the old school Zeldas that would kind of just not give you any idea where to go or what to do, and instead just waiting around until you figured it out. Personally, I always hated that, but I totally didn't realize that if you zoom in on Link's eyes, just rotate the camera around and zoom on in, it's actually mentioned in one tiny paragraph in the original GameCube games manual, but who the hell actually read manuals?
Number 4, the counter window, Assassin's Creed and other fighting games. Pulling off a counter in a fighting game is pretty much the best middle finger that you can give to your opponent, because not only are you doing damage to them, but you are humiliating them. It's a really satisfying moment and something that several video game developers have realized players will want to do. And as developer John Tetrino pointed out on a recent video game discussion thread, games like Assassin's Creed have a trail-off counter window of about 1 to 2 seconds longer than the actual prompt to give players a greater chance of pulling this off. It's a perfect example of video game developers trying to empower their players to invoke a sense of investment. After all, if you can do things like this, then you're going to want to play more of the game, right? Clever stuff.
Number 3, damage bonuses ensure you get a kill first round in Gears of War. Have you ever been on the receiving end of a Nasher shotgun in Gears of War?
Yes!
We all have. The little buckshot-spitting twats are single-handedly responsible for many of us rage-quitting and going off to play Halo instead. At least that's what we did in 2007 anyway, before the Fortnite revolution salvaged everything in its wake. Interestingly though, this is actually intentional. Now it's going to raise all sorts of questions around the game's balancing and what was fair and what wasn't fair, but the game actually gives you a damage buff when you first enter into any given round of any given match. It's to ensure that you're nigh on guaranteed at least one kill, because the developers realized that literally 90% of all players won't continue to play their game if they don't actually get one kill in that very first game. It's an incredibly subtle and, of course at the same time, not very subtle way to encourage competition.
Number 2. Lessened rocket splash damage. Quake 3. Stonking around with a rocket launcher, blowing your friends apart in Quake 3 is the image that I will give to people to express how good this game was. Smashing players to pieces and then sprinting away into more chaos was an utter joy, but the rocket launcher also played another huge role in the title, as rocket jumping was used by many to take advantage of maps and rain down fire from above. Yet this was only really made possible thanks to the devs realizing that maybe, just maybe, that they should lower the splash damage that is inflicted upon the player using it in order to make it more fun. This tweak to the damage output meant that players could fling themselves into the stratosphere as well as avoid a nasty death at their own hands. It's a simple trick, but it changed the flow of the game entirely.
And number 1, Naughty Dog collapse scenery in time with your movements in Uncharted. No one does playable cinematic ephemera better than Naughty Dog. The absolute maestros of making you feel like a superheroic force of debris dodging prowess. This effect, when you're not leaping off in the wrong direction anyway, is achieved through clever manipulation of any given set piece. By actively slowing down the collapsing scenery depending on how close you are or are not to the critical path, or speeding it up if you're following along nicely, it keeps the intensity of the moment sky high while making you feel like the Hollywood hero who's just making it through. So next time the bullets are flying and the skyscrapers are falling down, slow down yourself. You might just realize that the game is keeping up with you and you're not keeping up with the game.
So there we go, those were 8 more hidden video game developer secrets that are absolute genius. Let me know what you thought about them down in the comments section below, and if you liked what we found today, then maybe you'd like to check out this list, which is going to appear on Scott's face, which is on 10 amazing secrets that are completely pointless but will blow your mind.
I didn't even know about this, Mo.
I know, I'm sorry, man. And if you like something else, then why not check out That Film Theory? I'll plug that down there, where we do loads of stuff on cinematic theories and stuff like that. It's very chilled, very nice. Hope to see you there. Anyway, as always, I've been Jules.
I've been Scott.
You've been awesome, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Aren't you a star? Don't forget to like, share and subscribe below, and also there's probably more content floating up above my head, so why not check that out as well? Could be a laugh. Probably. 6 out of 10.